It's the pop culture field manual.
Welcome, everybody, to the Pop Culture Field Manual podcast, always sitting comfortably right at the intersection of weapons, action, military, and pop culture. I'm Israel. This is Cameron. We are excited to be back with you. Folks, we got a bunch of great stuff on YouTube. I want to get this out at the very beginning. First Formation, a roundup of some fun pop culture stuff coming up each week on our YouTube channel. That'll be on Mondays, and then every Friday is the debrief with Cameron, wrapping up the week with some great military news. Also join us on our Patreon, folks. If you like extra content, go and check that out. It's a good time, folks. Also, I have my horror gaming channel, the Is Files. I gotta get my energy up, Cameron. I gotta get my energy up.
What do you need? You need some caffeine? You want me to yell at you?
I already had some freaking coffee, man. I don't want to be like addicted. Even though I feel like I kind of already am. Yeah. You're like, I'm like, I like a cup of coffee in the morning. You are like, I need it.
Oh yeah. I wake up. First thing I do, no water, just straight quad shot espresso to the face. Oh my gosh. I'm actually thinking about grabbing an energy drink right now because I'm like, I'm feeling
Cameron.
it.
Yeah. It's just
probably shouldn't do that.
No, get it afterwards. If there's still something, I'm on this kind of like no added sugar kick for the time being. It's really good, but every once in a while, man, it's the strawberry flavor sugar-free monsters. Oh, there's a strawberry. I don't know what it is, man. Yeah, they got but they got artificial sweeteners, man. You hear stuff about like it still causes an insulin response and it's still not good for you. It's got a bunch of preservatives in it anyway.
Oh, sure. A lot of
man, every once in a while, I sure could. I sure would like a strawberry sugar-free monster.
Oh my God, look at you. I like the peach ones. Those are my favorite.
The peach flavor, the peach artificial flavor has grown on me since I was a kid. I used to not like peach flavored things. Now it's like, they're pretty good.
Yeah, me too. Peach rings growing up were always one of my favorite. But they go bad real fast. But, good segue transition. It doesn't go bad ever. A satisfying death, especially with a villain or a character in a movie, TV show, or video game that just, as the joke, as one of my favorite lines in one of the movies comes to us from the Joker when he looks at Robert De Niro and says, "You get what you fucking deserve."
It's true, man.
So
let's talk about that, folks. This is a part 2 to an episode. If you want to go back to season 2, episode 20, it's the kill shot episode. These are satisfying deaths. And today we're going to be talking about some of the very most satisfying, villain deaths, I guess you could say, in this one.
Yep.
Cameron, what makes the death of a villain so satisfying?
Oh man. Well, to me, death is a satisfying thing, but that's a very weird, that's just for me personally. But I think, what builds up to an extremely satisfying death is just, first of all, the person that is committing acts of atrocity that seemingly get no repercussions of the sort, right? So as a kid, when you're with your buddy and you're both doing the wrong thing and you get in trouble, but your buddy gets away. And then in the back of your mind, you're like, that motherfucker, and you secretly want to see something bad happen to them because they're getting away with it and it seems untouchable. And I think we all can relate to that. But, when you see a villain on TV or a villain in pop culture that's continuously just getting away with the most diabolical shit and not getting their comeuppance, dude, when it finally comes, it's a sweet flavor.
Yeah.
And
I think it appeals to our sense of justice is what I hear when you're talking about that kind of stuff, because we all have this sense, and we don't see it in everyday life, but we all know that justice should be done. The guilty should be punished. The bad guys need to get their comeuppance. We want good people to be rewarded and we want bad people to be punished. And that doesn't always happen that way. But in movies, when it's good, man, it's really good. And usually it's so good, like you say, after a string of victories by the bad guy, just honorable mention real quick, The Patriot, Mel Gibson, right? Jason Isaac, sorry. The actor, you think that his son, Heath Ledger, is going to get him halfway through the movie, and then he turns it around. Jason Guy gets stabbed, Heath Ledger. So this dude has taken everything from Mel Gibson. So by the end, when Mel Gibson seems to have been hurt and he sees his troops, the American flag flying over him, and Jason Isaacs comes up behind him, and you think he's done for, but man, Mel Gibson turns it around, and you're just like, yes, you're just so satisfying.
Yeah, man. Real quick, I 100% agree with you. First of all, I just want to respond, but you say comeuppance? Is that how it?
Comeuppance. It's a bit of an old timey. Yeah, it's
I
it's
say comeuppance.
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 Like muffins.
Get your comeuppance. Like cum muffins. Is that how it is? What's comeuppance? Cum buckets?
No, you know what? Comeuppance is a single word. All right, it's a noun, informal, the punishment or fate that someone deserves. Come up ants. COMEUPANCE. One word, comeuppance.
I've been using that word incorrectly my entire life. I always thought it was comeuffins.
Comeuffins. Somebody gonna get their comeuppance?
And I think if you listen to this recording, when I say get their comeuppance, I say the same thing, and then you're like, comeuppance. It's like, what? Okay. Anyways, I'm glad
that we took this little sidebar down to
man, absolutely.
Well, I think that's part of your charm, though, Cameron. Sometimes you mispronounce words or you use them not in their correct context, but I think that's part of why we like you.
Thanks, man. There's this one guy on Instagram that I absolutely despise. And he is like one of those food content creators where he's just like, you're going to put your air fryer at 400 degrees. You're going to add this. But I don't know if it's like his gag or his, or he's doing it on purpose, but he specifically, he just mispronounces like types of foods, not just like a little bit, but like a lot of it. And it's to the point where you're like, there's no way. Like, it's very annoying. Like what he said, the word prosciutto, the Italian thin sliced salted deli meat, right?
Yeah.
It's obviously pronounced prosciutto. But I forgot the video where he's like, you're going to add cheese and then a little prosciutto. And you're just like, dude, you're out here claiming to be like this chef, but you're straight up mispronouncing like these basic ingredients. He said, the tzatziki sauce, the Greek,
tzatziki,
the Greek
whatever,
cucumber white tzatziki.
Yeah.
He pronounced it as tzatziki. And I was like, what?
I thought you were talking about like some slight mispronunciation, but that's
no. It's like, it is bad. And literally, it's like, that skit with Key and Peele when it's like the substitute teacher from the hood and the guy's name is Aaron, but he's like, hey, Aaron. Yeah, Timothy. It's like that level of mispronunciation. But again, this has nothing to do with the podcast, so we're going to go back into it. But I just had to get that off my chest. I forgot his Instagram handle, so everybody can go and block him and try to get his account taken off. But it's okay.
Get him canceled for mispronunciation.
Yeah, get him canceled 100%. But we have a pretty solid list for you guys. Like Izzy said, continuing part 2 of the kill shot. And I think if you want to start it off, Izzy, with one of your picks here, let's hit the ground running, buddy.
We were talking about this one just before we started, actually, as we were getting the list together and finalizing it. But Denzel Washington's character, Alonzo, from Training Day, the Training Day movie with Denzel Washington and then, Ethan Hawke?
Yeah.
For those that don't know, really, really good. I think he won Best Actor Academy Award for his performance in this one. So he's won Best Supporting for Glory and then Best Actor for this one. And you get to, at first you think that maybe he's kind of a maverick, he plays a little bit outside the role. By the end of the movie, you realize that he's completely corrupt and there's no redeeming qualities. He's not even like there's even like a shootout. Like finally Ethan Hawke, he tries to get Ethan Hawke killed. He sets him up. He spent the whole day setting him up to take the fall. And then he's going to get him killed by these Mexican gangsters. Ethan Hawke escapes. He confronts him at his home, Denzel's home. And Denzel's got a little kid. And like the little kid is in the midst of this gunfight they're happening, and
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke cares more about the kid than Denzel does.
He
Tries
does.
to,
Yeah.
he's like, "Don't hurt my boy! Don't you hurt my boy! That's my boy there!" And then he uses his vulnerability and his care for the little kid to try to get a shot off on him. So Denzel's a complete dirtbag, and
dirty cop, you know,
dirty
just,
cop. Yep, swindler.
and all
You know,
his boys are dirty too, right? They're all like part
yeah,
of this
yeah,
LAPD, unit, and they're all like
yep,
in comeuppance with each
yeah.
other.
Get
And
their comeuppance.
they're all in on it. And you have this moral cop that comes in, and he's, obviously trying to elevate his career. And he's like,
Yep,
dude, we can't be doing this. Like, we're here to uphold the law, not break it and take advantage of
yeah,
it just because of our position. And they're all like, nah, man, we're just trying to get rich. So yeah, the scenes leading up to his death, because at first you think he's gonna get away with it because he leaves him with the Bloods, right? That's one of
yeah,
my favorite parts. Like all the gangsters sitting outside, and he's running, and all the Bloods like stop him and end up taking Ethan Hunt's side. And you're
yeah,
like, oh yeah, dude,
yeah,
yeah. Just
yeah.
even talking about another movie that has to do with gangs is like the one with Shia LaBeouf, the not the Enforcer, but the
The delivery man or something like that, or the
Delivery Man, the Ice
uh,
Cream Man.
there's
Uh,
something. Yeah, you talk about where he
what is
plays
it?
a gangster, right?
Yeah, he plays a gangster. His name is Creeper. What is it? I
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
just watched it the other
Like
day.
David Ayer. Yeah, it's David Ayer. Yeah, it's something about like the apprentice or the delivery man or something like that.
Tax
Uh
collector. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Tax collector.
tax
There you go.
collector.
It's something
So
about
like in the
collecting.
tax collector, there's like these movies, like gangs are terrible, right? They do a lot of bad stuff. But in this
Yeah.
movie, you watch Tax Collector and it makes you want to join a gang because you're like, these dudes have like a rule book, right? They have a level of respect for each other,
Or
like the
honor
other
code.
gangs. Yeah, there's like a code, there's like a code. And the gangsters in Training Day like have that code too. And they live
Yeah.
by the code, and they like, it's like real recognize real. Like, even though we're on the other side, like if you're handling your business, so are we. Like, we're gonna
Yeah.
ride with you, boy. And I was like,
Yep.
dude, where do I sign up? You guys need a
Yeah.
shooter? Like, come on.
Yeah, it's true, man. Yeah, it's what's great about this death is that the Denzel dies twice because, like you said, in the neighborhood after he's confronted by Ethan Hawke gets let go. They're like, "Nah, we're good, man. You get out of here. We'll see you around." And then Denzel talks a big game, and he's like, "I own this neighborhood and stuff." And he's got this great
Yeah.
speech. He's like, "King Kong doesn't have nothing on me." And everyone's
Yeah.
just like, "You're full of it, man." They just walk
Yeah, you're so
away.
full of it. Yeah.
They turn their backs on him. And then you kind of forget because you realize, oh, it's revealed that Denzel, he's on the hook for beating up this Russian gangster, and he's had a week
Yeah.
to get the payment going. Well, that all goes by the wayside, so he's trying to get out of town. He's got the money with him, and the scene, he's there and he's stopped, and he's like, this lady, kind of an SUV, comes up next to him. He's
Pulls
thinking,
up.
oh, this is it. She just kind of does her makeup. Yeah,
Yeah,
she
she
does her
lights a
makeup, and then she
cigarette.
drives off. Yeah. Little that's the signal because they stop him in the middle of the intersection and they just blast him.
Yeah,
And
just
then
like
they
six
shoot his
guys with
car. Yeah,
AKs.
they shoot his car and he kind of ducks and then he kind of crawls out and he's like shot up, but he's still alive. And then they just blast him. They just like he's just
Yeah.
like 40 bullets. He's like just in a
Yeah.
bloody mess.
Yeah. So moral of the story, don't be a piece of shit. Second moral of the story, don't make deals with the Russian mob that you can't uphold.
Yeah,
Because
that's
you will
right.
end up dead. DED
Bloody
dead.
mess. Yeah, in the middle of an intersection by the LAX airport.
Yeah, right there. Training Day, Alonzo's death was extremely satisfying just because,
Yeah.
he's such a bad guy. And you're like, man, I really hope this guy gets what's coming. And not just on the cut, not just being a dirty cop, but, this shootout with his kid using his vulnerabilities, like you said, it's just not a nice guy.
Yep.
And he 100% gets what's coming to him. But
Yep.
another guy that I think who has a pretty satisfying death, and it like this entire movie is a setup to getting revenge on this character, and it's Punisher from 2004, not the first one, but you have Travolta, who plays Howard Saint, and then you have the Punisher. Who's the actor that plays this Punisher? What's his name?
Thomas Jane.
Yeah, Thomas Jane, who plays Frank Castle. Obviously, in the beginning of the movie, those of you who have seen it, you know that Uh, Frank Castle was responsible for putting whose son or killing Howard Saint's son, right? Or putting him in jail.
This one I don't quite remember as well too much, but Howard Saint then ultimately becomes responsible for killing Frank Castle's family, because I think in this one Frank Castle's like an undercover cop. Something goes wrong,
that's
and then
it.
he gets outed. He gets found out, and then
Yeah.
his family gets killed. That's kind of the classic
Exactly.
Punisher
So now I
lore.
remember. Yeah, so I remember now. So basically, Howard Saint's son was involved in the sting that Frank Castle was undercover for, and then during that sting, Frank Castle ended up getting the son killed during the bad deal. So then Howard Saint obviously hired some cops to figure out who was part of the sting, and that's how they got Frank Castle's name. And then Howard Saint sent all his boys to a vacation home in what is it, Florida or the Caribbean or something, and
Like that,
kills Frank Castle's entire family. And I think in the comics it's like the son and and his wife get killed. But in this version, like his entire family, his father, his mother, his
they're at
cousins,
like a
his
dinner
aunts,
or
his
something.
uncles.
Yeah,
It's like a family reunion that the father puts on, that, he's been so dedicated to his police work, and, he's a former special forces guy or some sort of special operations soldier. And then he's been working undercover for all this time, and he's finally done and out, and he's retired, and he's finally gets to spend time with his family and like build that. And right as that happens, they're stripped away from him. Frank Castle is, what they believe to be dead, but just the spirit of revenge, causes him to stay alive and just become an alcoholic and lift a lot of weights and just be hungry for revenge. So, the entire movie is just a setup for Howard Saint's death. And not only is it enough to just kill him, but like he causes Howard Saint to kill his own wife out of, because
he fools him. He makes him think that she's having an affair or something like that.
Yeah, because Howard Saint is at extreme. Like, one of the things he finds out is he's an extreme. Like, he loves his wife more than anything, but he's extremely possessive of her, and he's extremely jealous man. So he basically convinces Howard that his like right hand man, who turns out to be a homosexual, that you find out is his right hand man is secretly having an affair with his wife. So he goes and he confronts his right hand man, ended up killing him because he's like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, you're a liar, and kills him in his own home. And then he goes to his wife and throws her off of a bridge because he's like, you're disloyal. So not only does he lose his son, he loses his best friend, he kills his wife. And then in the end, they have this giant shootout, and he attaches Howard Saint to the back of a car, and he just sets the car. And basically it's a great scene where he's just getting drugged through this parking lot, and all these cars are exploding around him. And finally, which is obviously it's super fake. Like, you could see like it's definitely a mannequin that's just set on fire. But yeah, it's super satisfying. You're like, man, this, if somebody killed your entire family and you managed to survive, like, would just killing him be enough? Like, what would you go? Like, what would you do? What would you go to the ends of the earth to, to get your revenge? And is that enough?
Right. Yeah, it's true, man. The satisfying thing about this one is that, like you say, he doesn't just kill the person; he dismantles his entire family. He fools him into thinking all these other things, into killing his own people that he trusted. So it's almost like a family for family kind of thing, Yeah. It's funny. I don't remember liking this version too much of the Punisher, because the Punisher's been done quite a few times, actually.
Yeah.
But I like the way you lay it out, man, because there are worse things. There are worse things to happen to a person than to just be killed, But it's another thing of like John Travolta realizing before his character dies that it was him. It was Frank Castle who did it, who fooled him into thinking that his wife was disloyal and his buddy, his friend was disloyal. And there's a fair amount of like shooting and stuff like that, which is what we know the Punisher for. But he really does punish him. He really does like dismantle his whole life,
It's like he could have just killed his wife, but that, what's worse, having your wife killed or being fooled to kill your wife with your own hands. You be the
Right.
one, you know, what would be way worse? So yeah, I like that theme. It's like, okay, well, the whole theme of the Punisher is to, like you said, to punish the people that need to be so. And like, what's the worst punishment you can think of besides just death? Because death is easy, you know, it's
Yes.
just lights out. But
Yep.
if you can make someone feel beforehand, it's like, okay, boom, punished.
Yeah. Yep. Let's talk about this, man, because we're kind of talking about different ways to punish, different ways to stick it to the bad guy before they actually find their ultimate demise. But this one is really just like, it's like slamming somebody into the pavement a dozen times before you crush their head. But Con Air, Cyrus the Virus,
Yeah,
John Malkovich's character, because the ending fight scene, they're on a
fire truck, like a rig.
They're on a fire truck. Yeah. Nick Cage and Cyrus, are fighting on the
Army
back.
Ranger Cameron.
Army Ranger Cameron.
From Second Ranger Battalion.
That's right.
Yeah.
But
you know what's really funny on that one?
Man.
My fiance, she's like doing her medical school rotations right now. And like that means she works with like doctors from different specialties. And she was like talking to this one doctor from I forgot what specialty it was, but she's like, was talking about me, and she's like, "Oh, you're married or you're engaged?" She's like, "Yeah." He's like, "What's your fiance's name? Tell me a little bit about him." She's like, "Well, his name's Cameron. He used to be a Army Ranger," and he like stopped her. He's like, "Are you fucking with me?" She's like, "Are you explaining the plot of Con Air right now?" And she's like, "What?" And she's like, "You know what Con Air is about? It's like an Army Ranger named Cameron Poe." And like he gets arrested and stuff. And I was just like, well, yeah, I've done all those things. So like, guess that movie is just based off me.
That's awesome, man. Oh
Yeah.
man. I love this one because it's classic. Is it Michael Bay and what's his name? Michael Bay and not John Frankenheimer, but Jerry Bruckheimer. Jerry Bruckheimer, Michael Bay, classic. Action, just over the top action, cheesy kind of one-liners, but bad guys that are really bad. Like it's Con Air. He is on this flight with just the worst of the worst. And so it's just great. It's great that the deaths are satisfying because you know that all of these people are
deserve
just the worst. They're just the worst. And they prove it every moment, until the very end. And so John Malkovich's death is amazing because he attaches him to the ladder of the fire truck.
Fire truck,
and he raises him up. And they're in like, was it like Vegas or Reno or something?
They're in like Vegas or Reno, yeah.
Yeah. And so the first thing, he gets smashed through this like overpass, overpass, right?
Yeah. Which is immediate death, especially going that fast. Like you're crushed.
Glass and debris, and you get crushed. Yeah. But not only that, but then he falls off of it through electrical wires.
Yeah. And he's getting electrocuted.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he gets onto a conveniently placed construction site conveyor belt that has a pounding like rock pulverizer at the end of it that
like
keeps
hydraulic
up and down.
press or something.
Hydraulic press. Yeah. And so he goes through that. And then he's on the conveyor belt, and then finally he gets right in there, and it's the classic like rising up, and you see the camera kind of zooming down at his face, and he just gets his head crushed. It's like this is death after death after death. Like he's just rubbing it in, which I think is appropriate for the character. But I just love it. It's just so ridiculous, the level of like he would have been dead after the first one, but you just got to get all that stuff in there. You can just see Michael Bay and Jerry Bruckheimer be like, "Oh man, wouldn't it be cool?" Okay, he's like through the thing. No, we got to go to the lecture. No, we got to smash it. Let's do all three. Let's just do everything.
Yeah. Wait, Michael Bay directed this movie?
No. Let's see. No, Simon West. I'm sorry. I always associate Jerry Bruckheimer with Michael Bay. So Simon West was a guy who directed it, and I think it was like produced by.
Wait, isn't
Jerry Bruckheimer is a producer?
Too, yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the bad dudes, right?
Yeah, Dave Chappelle is there. But it's funny because you have like Cameron Poe's character, which, he's getting out of prison. Like this is his ride home. Yeah. And not to mention Nicolas Cage does the worst Southern accent in the
I
world.
told him to put down the bunny.
Yeah, told him put down a bunny. My bunny. And he's like, "How's my baby doing?"
Oh
It's
my
so bad.
god.
It's such a bad accent, but I think that's what adds to the why this movie's so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just have crazy characters. Steve Buscemi plays a serial killer. You have Dave Chappelle, who's just a bad guy, and then John Malkovich, Monica Porter, Danny Trejo's in here, and
Yeah,
he's
good old
kind of a
Danny Trejo,
sketchball.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
he's
a
a
killer cast.
greaseball. Yeah.
Yeah, super greaseball, just looking after easy lay, and
Yep.
yeah, no, it's a bunch of characters that when people are like that, I think we talked about John Wick in the last episode of the Kill Shot, and it's just like, well, all those deaths are so satisfying because those people deserve it.
Yep.
So yeah, and Danny Tree, all those deaths are just like, oh yeah.
Yep. Yep. What's always weird, what's always fascinating, the weird moment in that movie is you got freaking Steve Buscemi, right? And he's like this serial killer or something like that. Like he's all
he's like the Hannibal Lecter kind of
yeah, he's like
style.
Dan done up. Yeah, yeah. The Marietta Mangler. And you think they've set him up to be like this total like monster. And then there's like the little kid when they stop and make the pit stop, and he gets off and he's playing with the little kid, and then you see him walk back with the doll. You think, oh my God, he killed the kid. But then later on when they take off, you see the kid's like still there. So it's like he totally ends up not being.
He's just a weirdo.
He's just a weirdo. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not like a merciless. I mean, he is, he's a merciless killer, but like, I feel like inside he's adolescent. Like he's mentally ill, probably. So he's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's like, how would you think he's just a weirdo? Like the documentary about Dahmer that was on Netflix that was like huge for a while. Remember? Did you ever watch it?
I know that it was. I never watched that now. I missed all that Dahmer stuff. They had that, and then they had a miniseries where it was like a regular like drama.
Yeah, they were really obsessed with serial killers for like a hot minute there. But like the Dahmer series, like you realize he's just a weirdo. Like he's just a weird. He's not like a savage. I mean, he is a savage, like in what he did to those people. But like at the end of the day, he's just mentally ill weirdo. Like so, yeah, that's why I don't trust weirdos, man. If you're a weirdo, stay away from me.
Have you heard my wife mentioned this one time? She's like, you realize like, the greatest generation comes home, or there's a lot of like single mothers growing up and like raising sons in the 40s and 50s, and then there's like this explosion of serial killers in the 60s and 70s. It's like single motherhood, no fathers in the house, man. Your kids are gonna grow up to be serial killers.
Absolutely, dude.
Oh, it seems kind of suspicious.
Need some direction. Need some direction there. Need some testosterone in the house.
That's right.
Another one here. Oh, this is a good one. So we didn't mention this one, but if you Google satisfying deaths, it's on like every single list. But in the movie The Mist, there is a crazy lady. She's a bit of an extremist when it comes to her religion. Right, and she
not a good characterization of any kind of Christian religion that I know of. She's just a horrible person.
It's just a horrible person, and like I feel like she like uses religion and convinces all these people, to do what she wants to do, because she's able to do so because she's saying like, oh no, a higher power like wants this. So like as you said, not a good representation of like the Christian community right there. I'm very confident that like if The Mist would happen, Israel, you would not be like her.
Wouldn't start my own little cult when people start to lose their minds.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's funny in the movie itself. It's a well done film because at first it starts off like people trying to work together and they're kind of believing in each other. I think the movie itself is more like it's like commentary on how we break down and turn on each other in crisis situations. But she starts gaining kind of followers, like one person here, one person there. And she starts manipulating people and kind of imposing her will on them. And pretty soon the good guys, the kind of rational people are the ones that are being mobbed against, and like more and more this kind of mob mentality takes over.
Yeah.
And she's kind of at the leader. And so until she just totally becomes unhinged. So it's a good build up because I think in the movie, even from the very beginning, you're like, oh, this lady, Like, I can't believe anybody would like her or interact with her. And then by the end, you're like, oh my God, she's leading everybody. Like, everyone's telling her following her. So that leads up to her death being like way more satisfying. You're like, finally, somebody did it. Let me bring your spirits up a little bit, because there's some really satisfying stuff from Leon the Professional. This is old school. This is like 90s. This is Natalie Portman's first major role. But kind of a weird movie, especially if you watch the extended version and like they kind of develop the love story. Nowadays, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe we've come full circle in our society to where it's like, no, that's a totally acceptable relationship. But he's the hitman and he's kind of a loner, really not even that all that educated, but he's good at what he does. And Natalie Portman and him, he ends up taking care of her. And then there's the corrupt cop, Gary Oldman, who's just good at everything that he does. And there's that last scene where he finally saves Matilda. He gets her out of there. She crawls down and kind of gets away and runs away. Yeah. And you think he's going to get away. He kind of disguises himself in the chaos as a SWAT guy with a mask on. And then he kind of takes a different route out, but Gary Oldman recognizes him. And there's that scene where he takes his mask off and he's walking towards the street like he's going to get away. And then Gary Oldman shows up behind him and like shoots him in the neck or something like that, and so he falls down. And, Gary Oldman, the reason this is satisfying is Gary Oldman is the worst kind of like scummy, corrupt cop. You think he's just like another drug dealer, gangster dude.
Yeah, because he's always hopped up on something. He's literally just like what we started out on this show on, is Alonzo from Training Day. He's like a piece of shit cop.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that. Always on something, and he kills Natalie Portman's entire family, you know, because her dad is corrupt and he's been holding on to drugs, but then he takes some of the drugs for himself. And then Gary Oldman and his squad come in and they cover it all up because they're cops. And so they call it just a, interrogation gone wrong or whatever. But even her little brother gets killed. He's like 4 years old or whatever. And she's like 12 in that movie. But yeah, man. And she even tries to, she doesn't know what she's doing. She wants to go and kill him. She gets into the police station. Right. And then he comes in and he even has that one line when they capture her. And she can't go through with it because she's too afraid. And he's like, he's like, do you want to live or something like that? She's like, and she's like, yeah. And he's like, that's good. I take no pleasure in taking life from people who don't value their own lives. It's like, wait, so you do? It's like, it gets some sort of perverse pleasure from killing people who actually want to live. And he's just a freak and a weirdo. So he kills.
Yeah, he's a bit of a weirdo. Plus you said you said it could be, the relationship could be interpreted different ways. I remember we were on our way. We had a long drive and you're like recommended this movie to me and I never heard of it. And then when we got back to our home, I watched it and I was like, sent you a text and I'm like, man, fuck you. That movie was weirder than shit. You're like, it's a beautiful relationship. And I'm sitting over here like, this guy's a pedophile. He but
he's
like
not.
in love. I don't know if it's a French thing. It might be a French thing, but like he romanticizes this like little. Yeah, he doesn't do anything, but you don't know.
He has lines about like she's like a teenage girl, so she's all on.
Oh, dude, she's like 13. She's like 13. Yeah. It isn't like when's your birthday? When do you turn 18? She's like in 2 weeks. It's not like one of those. It's like she's 13. And he's like she's beautiful. And you're like, yeah, dude, it's if you watch that movie nowadays, you'd be like,
they do kiss on the mouth. They do have a
kiss on the mouth. Yeah, that's super weird. It's super. Yeah. Could you imagine Natalie Portman's like guardian when they're like going over the script and she's like, she has to kiss who on the mouth, a full grown man, and they're like, no, he's European, and they're like, that's okay.
It's fine.
I mean,
she's
European.
Israeli. Maybe her parents were like super avant-garde at the time. They're like, it's okay.
Yeah, anyways, man. Yeah, no, that's a great death. Rolling over, seeing the frag grenade and just blowing him up.
Well, the best part is it was like he rolls him over and he grabs his hand. He grabs the cop's hand and he says, "This is from Matilda." And you don't see what it is. And then he opens his hand and it's the pin of a grenade in his hand. And then he opens up Jean Renault's vest, and it's all these grenades. He's like, oh, damn it. And then
damn it, that's it. Boom, big explosion.
Yeah. So yeah. So weird movie. Maybe I got to go to therapy. But
maybe.
Very satisfying death.
Very satisfying death, indeed, for both of them. Two birds with one stone. Yeah, two weirdos with one stone. Real quick,
he's poetic. He could never have her because that would be wrong. So he has to die.
Exactly. So that's the only proper exit for pedos is death. So, but I know I wanted to do one honorable mention just because we're getting pretty up there on time. But The Boys has some iconic deaths because in the entire series, like I love this, and I love this series just because it is such a spin-off of like what Marvel and DC created. Everybody thinks like superheroes are, morally straight and like, but in reality, people are people. What if people today just had super abilities? And they didn't have a choice because we find out that like the parents are the ones that made most of the soups, and then Homelander creating in the lab. Like people, they're not ingrained to be morally straight superheroes. So it's just like, what if someone had all this power and they were untouchable, just like the elites of this country or the rich people? Like you hear about them doing, absolutely crazy things because they don't think that they can get away with it because they have a bunch of money. So like what would happen to somebody that could get away with anything because they could not be stopped and nobody would ever be able to do anything about them?
Imagine imagine the Epstein Island that would exist if superheroes.
If they were superheroes?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, nobody would be able to do anything.
Be totally open about it and nobody could do anything about it. Like, yeah, I got an island. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I got an island, Yeah, I have sex with children. Like, what are you going to do? And probably nothing because I don't want to die. Yeah, you can't control those people. But yeah, there's some really gratifying deaths. Like, I mean, the series opens up with just a crazy death of, you have the main protagonist, his girlfriend. They're sitting on the street. They're sharing a beautiful moment, talking about the future. And, if you've never seen it, I don't want to ruin it for you, but I'm going to because this is the PCFM podcast and we do spoilers here. But like they're having a beautiful moment. And it's like, mush.
Yep.
Just mush out of nowhere. She's
in
a moment. Just don't even see it coming. It's mid conversation as I'm speaking to you right now. If I just blew up, and it's shocking. And then you find out that one of the superheroes ends up who has super speed like the Flash, just runs right through her by accident because he's hopped up on drugs, and that's how the show starts. So, the entire first season is kind of dedicated to figuring out how to kill these people and how to make them pay, how to like punish them. And there's one superhero named Translucent, and his superpower is invisibility. And he, what would you do if no one could ever see you and you were a male? You'd probably be a peeping.
And he's got invulnerable skin when he is invisible.
Yeah. All superheroes have diamond like coated skin. Like they can't be shot. Like they do not, he's impenetrable. He's literally he is immortal in a way. So what would you do if you do that? You'd probably sneak in the girls' locker room and be a huge perv and creep. And that's exactly who this guy was. So when they finally figure out how to kill him, and it is a satisfying death because they pack his butthole with a bunch of C4 and blow him sky high from the inside out. So that death is super satisfying because first, you get rid of a scumbag. And secondly, you realize that these guys are now touchable. And they're going to get what's coming to them. So that's just honorable mention that, went way longer than I thought it was going to go. But the boys, the boys.
I'll do two honorable mentions. We didn't really touch on video games much this time, but Last of Us Part 1, when Ellie kills, I think his name is David, the cult leader, the cannibal. It's very satisfying because the dude's such a creeper. I know they recreated.
He's such a creep.
Yeah, they recreated it in the show, and arguably it's a little more brutal because they let the shot go for longer. But like he tries to seduce her, and then he tries to rape her. He tries to eat her, and then in the burning lodge, she finally gets him, and she hacks his head away to nothingness, like time and time again with the hatchet or the machete or whatever. And it's just like this. They do a good job of it in the show where it's like this release of like she's been so tense and he's such a creeper that she starts like yelling out and crying even a little bit because she's just so traumatized by what happened and what she's like forced to do, to survive. And so that's a great one. And then of course, everybody's favorite bad guy, Micah Bell from Red Dead Redemption 2. Like you want him to die from the first moment you see him, and you just know he's bad. You see him influencing the gang, the leader of the gang. I forget his name right now, but and then at the very end, after in the prologue, I guess, John Marston, you finally take him out in the quick time event, and I didn't know, like, I shot him like 10 times in the face when I did it. And then there's the animation where he's kind of like, has this kind of like bewildered look on his face, and he kind of walks a little bit and then falls. I'm like, I could see the blood like in his face, because I shot him like all it. And like, I'm like, that doesn't really work for me, but I appreciate the death animation, because like maybe if I would have shot him in the gut, it would have made a little more sense. I'm like, that was like 17 shots right in your face.
Well, that sounds like you went overkill there, but for good reason.
Yes. All right.
Well,
so that is it for the main body, folks. We got a fan question in the game if you want to hang out with us for a little bit longer. This one is from Johnny G. Cameron, you want to take this one?
Sure, Johnny, what's going on, man? Always a pleasure to hear from you. And he wants to know, okay, so watching military pop culture, as everyone does, I notice the operators always have on mechanics gloves. How accurate is this, and why would they choose to go with them? Personally, I don't even use them. And because Johnny is a mechanic back in Canada, I find that gloves can limit my dexterity too much. So I'll just use a plain cotton glove, or like a nitrile glove when working with fluids. So this is like back in your day, man. The mechanics gloves were like all the rage.
They were all the rage. I think it was something where it was just good, relatively good manual dexterity, like low profile, like thin enough material that you had pretty good manual dexterity. I had Oakley gloves with the knuckle protection right there, the kind of little knuckle mold there, which I loved, because man, you're going around moving. I hit my hands, and you pinch your hands, and you get it caught in little crevices and nooks and crannies when you're in your MRAP or your Humvee. You're loading ammo cans, you're loading equipment. I use those things all the time. But yeah, that was the thing. I think it depends on what you're doing. It sounds like Johnny, he works with fluids and stuff like that. I don't know that I would use it in that case, but I didn't ever trying to think if I wore them like actually on like missions and stuff. I think I did. I got pretty good. I got pretty used to them, and I trained with them a lot and stuff. But that was just kind of my personal preference.
Yeah, no, mechanics kind of phased out in my era, because we started like getting really, really good gloves. The whole glove thing is like, we did an episode on gloves on Shift Fire, and like for military use, like it's a give or take, because they're considered part of your PPE, which is personal protective equipment. They're supposed to protect you, keep you from getting burns and boo-boos and getting your knuckles crushed. But they're hard to operate, it's hard to get fine dexterity out of them when you need to do, say you're working on a casualty, or you need to do something, that requires more dexterity. The thicker the glove is, the more durable it is, the more it protects you, the harder it is to do those things. So you have to sacrifice. I know when I first joined, I was using mechanics gloves because they made a really light pair that was a good happy medium between the ones they issued me. But then again, they also ripped super quickly. But I think mechanics are used so often just because they're extremely cheap. You can buy like 3 pairs of them for under $40. I think they're like $18 each now, and that's with inflation. So like you can have multiple pairs. If they break, you just replace them super cheap. They're everywhere. You can get them at AutoZone. You can get them at Walmart. You don't need to go to the tactical gear store to get mechanics. The accessibility is there. Also, they make neutral colors, so they go with your camos. So yeah, I think it's easy access. They're cheap. They work well for what they are. And I think that's why a lot of people in the military use them. It's funny because I just bought a pair of all black mechanics gloves, because I'm like recreating an old school kit. And
nice.
they were like, I was like, what gloves am I going to get? I was like, oh, mechanics black, of course. But we hope that answered your question, John.
All right. The time is upon us, Cameron.
The time is upon us.
The prophecy will be fulfilled.
Absolutely. And that prophecy is in the form of a game, and I am the game master here. And this game is called, Hey, Who's Killing Who Here? I'm going to give you the name of a character or a real person, and you tell me who killed them.
Who killed them? Okay.
And then here's a note.
I like this.
Here's a note for me. It says only give the show, video game, or movie if Izzy is struggling. Okay. So
okay. So
I have
little
permission.
hint,
Chris has granted me permission to give you hints.
Then these might actually be really tough.
Okay. I don't know. We have a warm up here, so we'll see. So I mean, this might be it's a mix between pop culture figures and real historical figures, and you just tell me who killed them. And if you're struggling hardcore, I'll give you the movie of what it is if you can't recognize who it is. So with the warm up, are you ready?
I'm ready, man.
Okay, so warm up. Who killed Abraham Lincoln?
That would be John Wilkes Booth. He was a male model. Played by James Marsden in the Zoolander movie.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, what a random thought. That's like 15-second little bit in that movie, and you got it. Yeah.
Yep.
A male model. Yeah. Okay, no, you're absolutely correct. So you understand how the game works. So we're just gonna go ahead, jump in feet first. First person, Rufio.
Rufio from Hook. All right.
Who killed Rufio?
You know what I wish? My happy thought would be, I wish I had a dad just like you. Right before he dies. Rufio, he gets killed. He's looky, I got hooky. He gets stabbed by Captain Hook.
And you are absolutely right with the even quote there. Yeah. So awesome. You got that one. Good job. Moving right along. Mike Ehrmantraut.
Oh, Mike from Breaking Bad. Oh yeah. I actually recently just finished Better Call Saul, and he's really great in that one too. You get to know a little bit more about him, but Mike Ehrmantraut, former police cop, gets killed by Walter White in Breaking Bad. He gets shot. Walter White, man, I don't know what he thought he was going to do pulling out the gun, but Mike tries to burn rubber and get out of there, and he gets shot by Walter. And it's sad, man, because he's sitting on the rock. He gets away, and Walter comes up. He's like, I didn't mean. He's like, just shut up and let me die. And then he just plops over dead. That's toward the end.
I'm surprised he kills Mike because, Walter White's afraid of Mike.
Yeah. Walter White. That's what's one of the geniuses of the show is how he is able to overcome these foes who are stronger, smarter, more well connected than he is. So
yeah, no. Great one. All right, got that. And it's crazy. I don't know how you remember these characters' names because, his name's Mike. You know how many people are named Mike in TV? Anyways, That's just my thought. Next, Professor X. Who killed Professor X?
I guess he doesn't actually die because then he gets maybe an amazing body that's looks exactly like his, and he gets his consciousness transferred into it or something. But anyway, in X-Men 3, X-Men The Last Stand or something like that, or X-Men Last Stand, he gets killed by Jean Grey as the Dark Phoenix. Her powers are becoming too powerful for her, and she's losing control, and he gets turned into microbits by her. And but then he comes back and he's magically back later. So
okay, what happens? Does he die again ever? Does he ever die again?
Is that not the
it's not the answer. Chris has something different here.
Okay, wait a second. Professor X, he gets shot by in Executioner song in the comic books, he gets shot by somebody. So let's see. Does he die any other places? What happens in what was the last one that came out? Dark Phoenix? Was that? No, that was with the young ones. That was, Logan. Yes. He gets killed by Weapon X. Because he thinks it's Logan, looks like Logan, and he gets the snicked right through the chest. He gets the blades in the chest. He gets killed by Weapon X.
Perfect. Yeah, X-24, okay. Wolverine's clone. There you go. All right, X-24. Yeah, no, honestly, you told he dies multiple times. The Dark Phoenix, he gets eradicated into nothing. Yeah, okay, great. So we'll give that one to you. Nice. Moving on, Lee Harvey Oswald.
Oh man, what? Lee Harvey Oswald?
Yeah, who kills Lee Harvey Oswald?
I mean, didn't he get executed or something like that? I don't. It's like one of those conspiratorial kind of things, but yeah, doesn't he get executed? Because he shoots JFK. I don't know what happened to him after that. Did he get shot before he went to trial? But I don't know, executed by
Yes,
the
he
U.S.
did.
government? Oh, he did. Oh, he did? Oh,
No,
dang.
so I'll just
okay.
give it to you. Yeah, so before,
Okay.
so he was killed by Jack Leon Ruby. He was an American nightclub owner who murdered Lee Harvey Oswald on November 24th, 1963, 2 days after Oswald was accused of the assassination of Kennedy.
Oh, wow. That's news to me. That's good history.
That's news to
I
me
never
too,
knew.
man. That's good
Yeah.
history, yeah. Yeah, I always thought it was Kennedy's death was a CIA cover up.
Yeah,
but
that's how the conspiracy goes. Yeah.
yeah. All right. So don't worry. We both learned on that one. But moving right along, we have Donald Gennaro.
Wait, what?
Gennaro?
Donald Gennaro?
Did he forget something? Let me see. You don't
Gennaro.
Google this. I will Google this.
Gennaro sounds like that's.
Yeah, it's okay. He forgot the D. It's Donald Gennaro.
Donald Gennaro. Donald Gennaro. Dude, that's I don't know. That's the only Gennaro I know about is I just recently watched Die Hard, and that's Bruce Willis's wife's maiden name that she uses. But
I think it's
Donald.
Gennaro. I think it's pronounced Gennaro, but it's from Jurassic. He's from Jurassic Park. Donald Gennaro.
Gosh, I mean, just because the name doesn't sound familiar, I'm guessing it's the lawyer who gets eaten by the T-Rex when he's on the toilet. Donald Gennaro. I'm guessing it's going to be the lawyer, the blood-sucking lawyer who gets killed, who's chomped by the T-Rex.
Well, way to go with your gut, because you were absolutely correct. He is killed by the T-Rex. And yeah, what a random character to throw in here. Wow. Chris is really gunning for you, huh?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if I wasn't allowed to give you names of movies?
Nah, I would have never gotten it. I didn't even know who that. I didn't even know I had a name.
Yeah, me neither. It was just a lawyer guy that got killed on the pot. Most embarrassing death of movie history. But cool, man. You're killing it. You're only missed one, but you're on a good track. So we'll move on, and let's see if I can pronounce this correctly. It's one word. Aerith.
Oh, Aerith Gainsborough from Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, she gets stabbed through the back by Sephiroth. It's very sad. This is a very traumatizing death. I played that when I was in junior high? Yeah, I think junior high, beginning of high school, maybe. I forget when that came out. 96. Yeah, Sephiroth is so. But yeah, very sad. She's praying. She gets sacrificed. I think her spirit comes back later or something like that. I don't know. We'll see what happens when the second remake comes out. See if she gets killed again. But
okay, well, you are absolutely correct, man. In all your nerdliness, yes, she is killed by Sephiroth. All right, well, last one here. Let's see if you can finish it off strong. Are you ready, my friend?
Ready.
Okay. Jesse James.
Oh, by the coward Robert Ford. There's that whole movie with Brad Pitt, like The Death of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. He was a member of his gang. He's shot by Robert Ford. Shot him in the. Did you shoot him in the back? But anyway, Robert Ford is the guy's name, I think.
Wow. And you are absolutely correct, man. You know your outlaw history. Yes, April 3rd, 1882. Jesse James was shot and killed by Robert Ford, a new recruit to the gang who hoped to collect reward on James's head.
Yeah.
And promised amnesty. So he was like he was like an inside man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he was a turncoat.
Dude, crazy. I didn't even know that. But way to go, man. You only missed one, but honestly, the one you missed was like, what the hell? Nobody knew that one.
I think I don't know how good of a sign it is that I got all of the fictional deaths, but the one, like the historical
actual historical one. Yeah.
I didn't get that one.
It's cool, man. He was a nobody anyways. He just killed the president.
He was the coward.
Yeah, he was a coward. But cool. Well, folks, we hope you enjoyed that game. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Pop Culture Field Manual podcast. We hope you enjoyed this hour with us in your cars, and we look forward to next week with you. Izzy, you got anything before we go?
Nothing, man. That's it for me. And until next time, folks, cue music.